Senator from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to talk about funding for the Department of Homeland Security and about the continuing need for immigration reform. We need to fund the Department of Homeland Security, and we should pass a clean DHS funding bill. That is the only bill that can pass the Senate, and that is the only bill that should pass the Senate. Once that bill has passed the Senate and the House and become law, then we can and should move on to consider immigration legislation. Republican leadership in the Senate has wasted a lot of time over the past month politicizing immigration and mixing it up with the issue of funding this federal agency that helps protect the United States from terrorists and other threats. And those threats are real. Just this past weekend, the terrorist organization al-Shabaab issued a threatening video suggesting that the Mall of America in my state of Minnesota could be a target for a terrorist attack. Look, this issue is not something that we should be politicizing. So we should enact into law a clean funding bill for DHS, and we should fund the department for the whole year, and not make the department run for a short time on a continuing resolution and just revisit the issue in the near future. That's not what we want. And then we should and can debate immigration. I've always believed that the best way to accomplish meaningful and sustainable immigration reform is through congressional action. Last Congress, the Senate took such action. As a member of the Judiciary Committee, I was very proud to play an active role in the comprehensive immigration bill that the Senate passed with broad bipartisan support. For me, this was a model of how the Senate is supposed to work. 4 senators from each side of the aisle, known as the Gang of 8, came together to craft a bill, which we then marked up in the Judiciary Committee, and I was very pleased to have a number of my amendments included in the bill, which then went to the Senate floor and was passed with 68 votes. That bill would have provided a real and comprehensive overhaul of our broken immigration system. It would have significantly strengthened our border security, and it would have helped a lot of people, from small businesses to families in our legal immigration system to many undocumented immigrants who would have an opportunity through a tough but fair path to get right with the law. There are millions of people in our country who want the same things that all of us want: a steady job, excellent education for our children, and a brighter future for their families, but are living in limbo and often in fear. Our bill would help them come out of the shadows and get right with the law. The Senate passed our bill in June of 2013. I was very hopeful that the House would take up and pass the Senate bill. And if the House had allowed a vote on the Senate bill, it would have passed the House and been enacted into law. That would have meant real and lasting reform to our broken immigration system. Unfortunately, over the course of the next year and a half, the Republican leadership in the House failed to act on the bipartisan immigration reform bill passed in the Senate, again with 68 votes. So the president took a step forward that will help a lot of people and help address fixing our broken immigration system. While I still believe Congress needs to act, I think we need to keep the executive actions in place until we do. And I will not support any legislative effort to undo President Obama's executive actions. So we are presented with a choice. Once we pass a bill into law to fund the Department of Homeland Security, we can take a step forward and help a lot more people by passing comprehensive immigration reform. Or we can take a step backward and harm a lot of people without getting any closer to the comprehensive immigration reform that we need. I will vote to move forward, not backward. We need a fully funded Department of Homeland Security, and we need a comprehensively overhauled immigration system. Thank you. And I would suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.